Blanky time. It's almost time for Blanky time. Come along and take our hands. We're going to Blanky land.
There we go. Okay. Conspiracy. Noun. Plural. Conspiracies. A secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful. The action of plotting or conspiring. What are we talking about today, Matt? Our favorite baking shows.
Yeah, well, the Great British Bake Off is a hit right now. I can't get enough of it. Will it cake? Is it cake? Something like that.
That's Rhett and Link.
Oh,
The Will It series.
They have a new game out, a new card game out. It's pretty dope.
You were telling me about that.
It's like Cards Against Humanity, but mythical style.
Dude, the way they're... If you want to talk about a conspiracy, the way their, like, subscription tier system service thing they do is kind of crazy.
I don't know if I'm familiar.
Okay, right. So, for their mythical... It's called the Mythical Society, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of like... Do you know what Loot Crate was? You understand, like, mystery box subscription services?
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like that. But there's 3 tiers.
Okay.
So they have, like the first tier you get a certain amount of things, and second tier you get a certain amount of things, and third tier is like all of that. But it's like they talk about it all the time, and it's just kind of weird that they have like sort of a pyramid scheme built into their.
Yeah.
But not exactly a pyramid scheme. It just seems like
it works.
You're milking people at different levels, to
right.
get all the money.
I mean, whatever they're doing it right. Red Link, hit us up, man. We're both
North Kakalaki boys.
Well, from your stomping grounds, Andrew, Black Creek area. We're right here.
Lexington, weren't they around from Lexington? Somewhat.
I think they went to school with a friend of mine from high school. No, that's inaccurate. They went to church with a friend of mine from high school, like right down the road from here.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I have a ex-cousin that was friends with them in college.
Yeah.
When they were doing crew and all that stuff.
Yeah, man. Back
Crusades
when
for
they were
Christ.
Christians. Yeah. I remember those days.
Rhett might be coming back around.
Really? Like recently?
Well, he bought a Bible again.
Look,
do
you listen to Ear Biscuits?
Sometimes.
So
they just talk about having sex too much on the Ear Biscuits, and I'm like,
yeah,
what is y'all are a little goofy.
There's nothing wrong with, anyway.
You want to talk about sex and not talk about conspiracy theories?
What if that is the conspiracy?
Sex is a conspiracy. I have a conspiracy of my own, but it's not like I'm plotting with anybody. It's more just like a hypothesis. That
related
basically,
to sex?
Yeah.
Okay.
Men, without the drive for sex, can conquer and do anything.
Interesting.
Because, like, and I think that goes for human beings as a whole, really. Like, if you take away sexual desire, then you can accomplish anything without, like, the bias of, like, animal instinct taking over. Because think about how much dumb crap dudes, like, even wars were started over, like, marriages and stuff.
It's true. Broke out the Beatles.
Ooh, we're going to start another record.
Yeah.
Wait, is that seriously why they broke up? Was because of girl beef?
Yeah, Yoko Ono.
Yoko Ono?
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
That was the girl.
It's not a Japanese steakhouse?
No, well. Never mind.
I think she's a rather rad bird.
That's terrible. Yeah, I don't know the whole situation, but it definitely is why the Beatles broke up. Unless that's a conspiracy.
There's a lot of... Actually, that is something I wasn't even thinking about, is conspiracies around, like, artist deaths.
Oh, Tupac?
Michael Jackson.
Alive, bro. Michael Jackson.
Prince.
Yeah.
Elvis?
Elvis is, dude. I saw him last week at the barbershop.
Well, have you
Still
seen
alive.
that guy that they think is actually Elvis? That's like
No.
this pastor dude in Georgia.
Really?
Sounds exactly like him. Looks a lot like him.
Is he the same age
Very great.
Elvis would
Yeah,
be right now?
it kind of checks out. Like it's pretty wild.
I might have to get in on that action. Yeah, I'm stoked. I'm stoked for today's talk on conspiracies. I'm excited to like. Okay, this stuff really interests me a lot. Um, I don't have a lot of. I have opinions about all of them, but I mean, I'm pretty much on the fence all the way across the board. So I'm excited for you to convince me today of a handful of conspiracies because I know you have a list and you're just going to be like spitballing these things. I have a couple. Um, but yeah, this is just an opportunity for us to talk about some of the stuff that we think everyone is hiding from everyone else. This guy.
Yeah, Bob Joyce. So people think he's Elvis.
Interesting.
He also
Does
sounds
he
a
say
lot
that
like
he's
him.
Elvis?
Well, if you were trying to fake your death, would you say you were Elvis? Because
Yeah.
even till today, if he admitted that he was Elvis, probably a lot of his money would be taken away. Because like if you learned from the Elvis movie with sweaty hot Austin Butler,
Haven't seen it yet,
um,
but I've heard it's good.
the the his manager guy that was played by Tom Hanks basically scalped him of all his money. Like he basically died poor, really, because he was essentially made a slave, a performing slave of this guy.
Dang, of Tom
So
Hanks.
yeah, Tom Hanks in real life did this.
Tom
No.
Hanks is great, man. Let me tell you.
Yes, we know you like
Look,
child molester.
think about what you will about his actual life.
His
but-
friendship with Epstein.
The man can act, okay, and maybe he's got us all fooled. But that doesn't take away from every movie I've ever seen of him. Just except for Cloud Atlas, I was kind of that one was weird. Dude, he's just a phenomenal actor. Like, yeah,
No, he's great.
I'm sure he's not a great person, but who is? You know, Jesus. That's pretty much it. So, the rest of us are all just trying to figure it out. But yeah, I'm stoked to hear your conspiracies, your thoughts on conspiracies. I know a few. I don't know if you're gonna bring them up today, but either way, I think it's gonna be dope.
There's so many routes. Like I know about a lot of them. I can see both sides. Like, okay, one of the biggest ones is like the moon landing.
Man, yeah, I was
Right.
I was gonna bring that up.
So with the moon landing, okay, I'll hear something one day and be like, "Yeah, we faked it," or the next day I'm like, "Yeah, we definitely landed." That was Beans. I think.
Yeah.
It scared me for a
Scared
second.
the-
Beans, you.
Yeah,
He's opening doors.
that's creepy.
That's my cat. So so a lot of people don't think we went to the moon because yes, there was stuff that was recorded and faked to make it look like we landed on the moon,
Correct.
and
that's been proven
that's been proven, right?
because they lost communication with the shuttle like
Yes.
moments before they were supposed to go live.
However, there still is some photo evidence and actual video on the moon.
How do we know?
There's a couple videos where these guys figured it out, right?
Mhm.
My theory is that they faked a crap ton of the videos and stuff as a backup if they lost communication, or if they lost it when they were coming back down to Earth,
Yeah.
because basically they wanted to be able to put out publicly, like, hey, we landed on the moon, Russia, you suck, we did it first, and
Yeah.
that's why they faked videos.
Yeah, politically motivated, obviously. Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence about it too, because I can go both ways. Like, I love the idea of space and
The final frontier.
exploration. Yeah, huge Star Trek fan, huge Star Wars fan. Like, I can have both sides. Um, thing about space, when it comes to the moon landing, like, dude, like, I don't know. I watched the movie with Ryan Gosling about Neil Armstrong.
I don't know if I know that one.
I can't remember the name of it right now, but
Dark side of the moon.
is that Mulan?
No, that's the Police.
Oh, look, Mulan sang about the dark side of the moon too.
What
so
does my reflection show? Who I am inside.
yeah, I have 2 toddler girls.
And
So
I am a toddler girl. So
well, there you go.
you have 3 toddlers.
There you go. Yeah. So but the movie obviously it's a good movie. It ends with them like landing on the moon. Bro, they didn't even have like screens to track everything like we have today. So you're shooting this like tin can, like however many 100,000 miles the moon is. Not that far, but so it's like a quarter. I don't know. It's a lot of miles. It's like 100,000 miles. 1 to 200,000. I don't know the exact measurement, but like
$100,000 on
like,
the tabletop.
you're just using math. I'm not saying math. I mean, math is powerful. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a fan of it.
Unless you start saying 2 + 2 is 5, then
Common Core, not so much. That's a conspiracy. But so yeah, like you're doing all this before. I mean, it's just not feasible. To me, it just doesn't make sense that we did that 50 something years ago. At this point, over 50 years ago, and we haven't been back since the mid 70s supposedly. It just doesn't add up. And then you have China recently crash landed into the moon. Or,
India
India.
allegedly. No, they landed on the dark side of the moon.
They did.
Yeah.
China has landed on the dark
But
side
okay,
of the moon.
imagine, right?
You know,
they
you have
they
that stuff-
say that they landed on the dark side of the moon, but they had this crappy digital rendering of something landing on the moon, and if they would have had the budget to make like a movie quality dark side of the moon landing, everybody would have probably believed for the most part that they landed on the dark side of the moon.
Right.
Whereas they had this like crappy placeholder for that, and it's like I think that's part of why the U.S. created it. I don't know. I mean, I listened
Space Force.
to a history podcast one time. They had a whole series on all the Apollo missions, and like
Yeah.
there is some I forgot
leads
which
into Apollo 18.
Yeah,
That's
one
a conspiracy.
where they think they blew it up on purpose to actually get more funding or something or whatever, and there's like pictures of the people that allegedly died on Apollo 18, and they
Well, Apollo 18 is the one that
picked up and doing careers other places and have different names, and their like pictures are identical, and it's kind of weird.
So there's this. So the last moon mission I think was Apollo 17, but there's a movie Apollo 18 that came out, like, I mean, not terribly long ago, within the last couple decades, obviously. The theory is that that movie is the actual account of why NASA scrubbed Apollo 18 and said it didn't happen, when there's like paper trail that it did actually happen, because they encountered life on the moon.
Then what am I talking about? Because that was the thing.
Columbia, right?
What?
Is it Columbia?
I don't know. There was some like astronaut like conspiracy where apparently it was like a tragedy because all of them died, and then
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, my mom told me about it. She was a little girl when it happened, but I think that was like sometime in the mid 70s.
Yeah.
Or like late 70s, but
Yeah, there's a bunch of weird stuff with the moon. Like there's like CIA reports of where they were trying to like figure out how the moon kind of works, and so they were like, let's fire a missile at it and see what happens.
yeah.
And so they shot it with a missile, and it rung like a bell for a frickin' long time, and they're like, that's strange.
Yeah, and there's like evidence of liquid water on the moon, or there is liquid water in some areas. Evidence of ice.
That means it would
the
have to
moon.
be warm enough for the water to be liquid.
Oh, okay, not liquid. It's ice then.
Oh,
But
okay.
there's like
There's H2O on that bad boy.
H2O, right? So I listened to this podcast, Ologies. I don't know if you're familiar. It's pretty good, interesting. There was like a short one. They interviewed this lady who's like a moonologist, whatever you call that. That's what she is. And her whole thing, like, I mean, very interesting.
Is the backside of her pants just always cut off?
It's funny. It's funny. It's a full moon. One time in Myrtle Beach, though, we went for bike week, and the chaps that we saw.
Yeah, assless chaps, as they say.
Yes, that's what they say. All over the place. And those dudes were hefty, you know? Big bikers.
Booty hanging out?
Just beards and the booty out.
Did they not even have like a G-string on or anything?
Nothing, man.
Nothing?
Just
Just
Myrtle
raw,
Beach, they don't care, man.
raw butt on raw hot leather motorcycle seat.
Basically, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and us.
Conspiracy. Harley is never mind. Like I
Anyway.
said.
But yeah, so the moon landing, that's something I continually go back and forth on. There's videos of Buzz Aldrin saying it didn't happen. You know, and he's supposedly the second person that stepped foot on the moon. So I don't know, man. I could go either way. And like I said, with most of the stuff we're going to talk about today, that's probably where I'm going to land. I could go either way. I feel like I'm at that point in my life where, you know, given enough evidence on one side or the other, you know, the only sin right now is certainty about anything other than God is good. Hallelujah.
All the time.
All the time.
God is good.
Amen, amen, brother.
Well.
So yeah.
Any ones you were thinking about besides the moon?
Dark
side of the moon.
See, I'm singing the Mulan version. It's like,
Let me give you a taste.
more
Here, you.
mysterious than the dark side of the moon.
Oh
That one.
yeah. Be a man. Yeah, that one's a vibe.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I wake up singing it sometimes.
Anyways, do you have a?
I do. I have a couple. If you're listening, you probably know my fascination with the possibility of extraterrestrial life.
Oh, walking on the moon. Walking on the moon.
I think I have heard that.
Together, walking on the moon.
That's a vibe.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, man.
All right.
I went through a big police phase when I was like 14.
Wow, that's strange. Not as strange as yesterday's congressional hearing in Mexico.
Oh man.
This is the Latin American country's first take on the UAP thing that's going on right now in the news.
They didn't want to be left out.
And here's the thing. So they had a journalist come and present under oath, which all this is happening, you know, hand on the Bible style, under oath, which in the U.S. means under the threat of perjury.
Mexico
I don't know what it means in
have
Mexico.
no respect for the Bible.
I feel like Mexico's probably a lot more religiously conscious than America at this point.
Not the
as far as,
government.
like,
They're a very corrupt government comparatively.
compared to us, I don't know.
Yeah,
That's debatable.
the thing is, we have like a face of being good, but we know it's corrupt. They don't got no face.
They're
of
just
it
like,
being good.
What
know?
you see is what you get.
Yeah.
We love you, Mexico. Honestly, some great tacos yesterday, and I thank the Lord for Mexico.
Viva la Mexicana.
So, yeah. So anyway, congressional hearing. First time they've kind of weighed in on the UAP thing. They call them something else. I can't remember the exact term, but basically they had a journalist come and under oath present two supposedly extraterrestrial
life form.
that were mummified, which were supposedly,
Very
allegedly, over 1,000 years old via carbon dating, which, you all know how we feel about that. And look, here's the thing. They look like E.T. They look exactly like E.T. looked in the movie, right?
Yep. Crispy.
So, like, I don't know, I'm not 100% sold on that. So I don't know if you'd call it a conspiracy necessarily, but the whole, like, misdirection that's happening right now globally with the UFO, UAP thing, it's interesting. And I think in and itself, like, it is just it's a misdirection. That's exactly what it is. Like, look, the universe is ridiculously huge. It's expanding exponentially. Potentially, there's several universes that are also expanding, So who's to say there's not life out there? I'm on that train. I'm not sure if
Did say Jesus died for all time. Doesn't say for all on earth.
C.S. Lewis has a good take in his book, The Last Night.
Airbender.
No, yeah, his book, The Last Airbender.
Cabbages.
I think it's called The World's Last Night. Is the name of the book. But towards the end, there's a little essay on what would happen if we found out that extraterrestrial life is real. And
he was one step ahead, man.
He said, as Christians, we would colonize and try and evangelize these races, and do exactly what we did to Native Americans, to every culture that we have conquered throughout history.
It's not manifest destiny.
So I don't think so.
That's if we went there and tried to take the land and be like, God told us to do it.
Right. Yeah. Well, his whole thing is like, who's to say at the end of time?
Who's to say?
At the last, the marriage supper or whatever your theological thoughts are on that we don't sit around this big table and hear like a million alien gospels, right? Like, if there is life, are they fallen as we would consider it? Do they need redemption or salvation? What does that look like? And so, theologically, I can understand why a lot of Christians would be like, there's no such thing as aliens. It's a conspiracy. The rapture's coming. Well, I got news for you, sweetie.
That ain't how it works.
The rapture's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Which we can get into that if you want. But so anyway, like,
it's a death conspiracy.
Honestly.
Oh wait, I never actually got to talk about that.
We never really got into the
in
rapture
the death
thing.
episode.
But the rapture is.
Wait, finish your thought.
Yeah, we'll finish this thought, then we'll get into the rapture. Because they coincide. Because I was even talking to my mom about this. I was like, I'm very fascinated by the UAP thing. I think that the majority of it's man-made. I think we have technology people don't know about, obviously. But I 100% believe like there's life out somewhere in the universe. Whether it's here or not, I don't know. But I was trying to talk with her about it, and she was like, yeah, I think it's just like they're just going to make it seem like when the rapture happens, there's this abduction of all these people and stuff. And like that's kind of the narrative that I heard growing up too, in church or whatever. So anyway, all that to say, I think it's a misdirection right now. I'm 100% on board with life outside of our planet.
Did you hear about like the little people with jetpacks in like Argentina or something?
The face eaters or the face peelers, and it's in Peru, yeah.
In Peru.
Yeah.
And the government was just like, it's just minors
kids with
like
jetpacks.
Miners as in like digging for gold miners,
right?
With jetpacks, and
with
it's
jetpacks.
Like.
That was their, yeah.
What was a dirt digging man need with a jetpack?
Yeah, dude, it's Blurry. That was on the Blurry Creatures. Tim Alberino came on, and he was talking about very recently, like a girl went missing, like a 14, 15-year-old girl, And when they found her, she had like scratches all on her neck, and basically called them like face peelers. That there were these like flying, levitating, tall creatures. Kind of described them. Well, then they found a body of a dude who didn't have a face. Like everything, like his
skin
neck
got
up,
taken off?
yeah, like had just been like peeled. And so the tribe goes out looking for these things, and apparently had encountered some of them. And the government of Peru kind of wrote it off as like, yeah, miners with jetpacks.
That's whack.
So again, like I'm 100% on board with the concept of alien life, even alien life here. I have no problem with that. It doesn't impact my theology of anything because God can do whatever He wants. And like if you're closed-minded enough to say that it would impact your theology, then maybe rethink some things. No judgment though. But I just think it's all a misdirection. All that to say, something bigger's going on. Maybe that's the real conspiracy.
I think we're working with them.
With aliens?
Yeah, I mean, there's some accounts of like people who went into the forbidden levels of facilities
Right, yeah.
that saw like the thing that's described as like a triangle in the sky, and it looks like a massive hunk of granite just levitating above the ground, and there's regular dudes there, and then these like super tall, like kind of human looking but not dudes also there working with them, which is what I would call the aliens or the Nephilim. So
Right.
you know.
Okay, so on that note, U.S. congressional hearing a couple weeks ago
Yes.
had two people come forward and say that we are actually working with multiple species, one that is in a distant galaxy and one that doesn't exist in the physical universe. So we're talking like different dimension, different
Yeah.
like basically like
Well, in the CIA's papers about like the different, so the Air Force had a chapter in their training books, for like it was like some specific training thing, and they had a whole chapter about encounters with alien craft and life form, and like listed there's like 4 different kinds of aliens that they know of at the time, and this was like in the 60s.
yeah, and that's
And a
what
bunch
he
of
said.
other
We've had
crud.
zero gravity technology since the 50s.
Yeah.
So
But this chapter like describes each one, but there's also like a passage in the Bible that talks about like different kinds of spiritual beings, and they kind of line up a little bit, and it's
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah, I've heard they take that Ezekiel's was it Ezekiel's vision where he sees like the wheel that's spinning and like going up as like that's a UFO, but just like him describing.
Rock
like,
me, mama, like a wagon.
Oh my God!
He
Darius
saw
Rucker.
a vision of Darius Rucker
Get outta
peering
here,
out of the
man.
sky.
Get outta here, Darius.
All I want to bear with you.
No, not a fan, Hootie. Get out of here. So anyway, like, yeah, I'm all for aliens, dude. Bring it on. And I'm digging, like, getting to hear about all the UAP stuff. It's just, I feel like it's not a coincidence that everyone's trying to, like, push it right now, and you're hearing about it congressionally in our country and in neighboring countries. It's like something much bigger is happening, and this is just kind of like a disinformation campaign. Like, what happened with the CIA in the 70s and 80s, where we want we don't want them to find out about this, so let's push this, which we know isn't really that accurate, but there is some truth to it, and let's just let them run with it. So
The best lies have a bit of truth.
a bit of truth. It's true.
So yeah. Anyways, back to what started that rant. Mexico had a thing, and there's these 2 tiny little potato chip looking mummies of aliens. They look super fake to me.
They just look like, they look like real mummies, but it's just weird. They could be child mummies.
No, I mean, there's apparently x-rays of these things. But yeah, why would they be the one? Okay, well, they have mummies of them, right?
Think
then
about
that means that there was some kind of connection in relationship with them in the past.
Which
With the people.
adds up if you buy into the idea that Mayans, which like Mexico is like a heavily Mayan inhabited, area. Uh, I mean that tracks because the Mayan calendar. There's all this foreknowledge of like the future things that
I mean, look at this dude.
Yeah,
Like, the way the bones are protruding and stuff, it just looks like
it's
mud slapped onto
It
a
is
skeleton.
very humanoid looking. The head is a little odd, like they're elongated. It's like
They have 3 fingers.
it's like Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull style, like heads. That's what they look like.
But these look like hoops. You know? I don't know. It's just...
They look exactly like every alien in every movie you've ever seen. The hell is that?
It's just like a live recreation of one. I wanted to see the
bro.
X-ray picture.
So, again, that does track though if you buy into like the Mayans and the Aztecs and the Incans, or the Olmecs had like foreknowledge of star people, or if you buy into the like how there's similar markings in Central and South America, and they match up to stuff in the Middle East and Egypt and Africa, and everything kind of looks very similar in the way that it's. So I don't know. I mean, that could track. Again, I'm not saying they're real or they're fake. It's super interesting to me. I think it's pretty dope, but I'm gonna need a little more evidence to convince me of that. Like
I
buy
think they're
into
wanting
it.
some of the hype, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people all over the world like, why is the U.S. the only one doing all this stuff? And it's like, okay, number one, it's the U.S. and
Israel?
Israel
got in on it last year.
and Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And the main reason why they think it's those 3 countries that are encountering, alien sightings and whatnot,
Nuclear
is because of
weapons?
like nuclear weapons and power,
right,
and
which
weapons of mass
totally
destruction.
makes sense. I mean,
Because when the first atomic bomb was dropped in testing, was the first time these bad boys started showing up.
That's when
allegedly.
they started showing up. Yeah, exactly. And that's pretty well documented.
Yeah.
Which, again, tracks with having zero gravity technology from the 50s because of the Roswell crash and other crafts that were, obtained. Bob, what is his
Lazar.
name? Bob Lazar, right?
Oh.
So, yeah, Bob Lazar. No, that's right. Yeah, so he was an engineer. He worked really close to Area 51. Actually got hired to work at S4, which is the actual spot that Area 51 is a cover for, and supposedly reverse engineered this thing that what he describes as an alien craft. The dude got blacklisted. I mean, he lost his family. Like, he hasn't been able to hold a job since, So, I mean, but he's very convincing in his argument. He just seems like a broken older man who lost everything, but he really believes it. He's like, I'm not lying. I'm telling the truth about this. So I mean, I buy into a lot of what he's saying. It's a very interesting thought experiment. I mean,
Yeah. But ain't no point in getting worried about it. It's like, do I still have to pay rent tomorrow?
Right. That's the real struggle.
Probably. So,
if Bleeblorp can pay a bill, welcome.
hack into the Bitcoin.
You can stay with me, buddy.
Yeah.
Stay at my house.
It's like that crappy, oh God, it was a movie that was produced by Coca-Cola. And it's like this
gotta be a good
alien family that comes and lives with like a normal suburban family. It's so bad. I forgot the name.
That's
just
terrible.
really bad.
That's terrible.
But yeah, it's interesting. We just we aren't gonna really know. It's just like, okay, to turn to another conspiracy. This is a good segue. We don't fully know what happened with JFK's assassination. Like,
Right.
they basically dropped some more papers and stuff, and basically admitted to the CIA running the hit on JFK, but there's not been any official announcement or whatever, and it just keeps on getting drug out. The interesting thing with the JFK assassination is the way the round was preserved that they said was the bullet that hit him.
Right.
In multiple different ballistics tests at the same range that they said he was killed at, it no way stays intact the way it does.
Right.
So they think that it was like planted in the video. Okay, so this is what I think happened.
Okay.
I think it was the driver.
Really?
Yes, because in the video,
I mean, yeah, his brain.
the driver turns like this and raises his arm up to his shoulder, and then you see JFK's head go straight back. Where if it was from the angle that they said, he would have been to the side.
Yeah.
Plus, his wife scampered from where she was sitting as far back as she could, next to him. Because I think he gets like double tapped, which is very hard to do, like sniping wise.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
But if you're just like, turning over your shoulder.
I've heard multiple theories. Like there's
also
the
the lady.
Shooters. There was the bullet the boomerang bullet where it like went back in. Like that was a theory. Like literally the bullet.
Boomerang bullet
went through and like came back through. Literally, that was.
I haven't heard about that one. By golly, wagga, we're gonna make some bullets, mate.
For real, yeah. So I've heard. I mean, it's a thing.
Nigel, shut up. We don't need your weapon technology ideas.
Come on, mate. It's gonna change everything.
Hey, how about we get a bullet, but we make it spin around?
Yeah. So I've heard that theory. I've heard the second shooter theory. But I haven't heard the driver, so that's interesting.
Yeah, watch the video again. It's pretty convincing.
Yeah, man.
There's also there's a picture of this lady that's just like standing there unfazed in a field while everybody else is like flinching and taking cover. And they got like some pictures of her from the front, and there's this whole news campaign like, who was this lady that was unfazed, blah, 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 trying to find her. Turns out she was like the daughter of, I forgot what family it is, but it's this big family that has their hands in like all sorts of crud and like weird like other conspiracy stuff. But it's just kind of strange. She was just like there chilling and was unfazed by it, like she knew it was gonna happen the entire time.
Psychopath.
But yeah, who knows? It could be the guy that they framed.
Could be that guy. Could have been.
But
I definitely think he was framed.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like to scootily poop hop dee bop right into another conspiracy. You want to know something that's interesting?
I do.
This is a fact.
Okay. I'm ready.
Pictures, like a piece of art or like a framed picture, can't hang itself unless somebody else does it, right? Like if you want to put it up on a wall,
I did know that.
like it has to be done by somebody else.
Yeah, it can't do itself.
It can't do it itself.
Right.
Just like Jeffrey Epstein didn't hang himself.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Did you know I was going there?
I didn't. That's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah. So the Epstein stuff is a big conspiracy, right?
Okay.
Which, in a way, with Epstein being hung or allegedly committing suicide, it's sort of like immortalized him, and like people, it's weird how the internet treats him now, because like everybody hated him, but now everybody's like, who hung him? Like, the bigger thing is like, if someone was willing to hang Epstein, like what kind of sketchy crud was he doing, and what were they trying to cover up? Like on his island that stuff happened on, he had like a picture of Bill Clinton in a blue dress, like crying.
That's terrifying.
And like he had like all this like weird art and stuff that basically
he's not a pretty man.
Embarrassed multiple different like celebrities and people of authority, and like some people link it to like he had so much control over him that he was like, I'm gonna use your likeness to make like silly art and whatnot because I know I have you in my hand and you can't do anything about it.
Interesting.
But they haven't really released all the flight logs. Apparently, there's a lot of stuff that they took out of the island, like archives of stuff and whatnot. We don't know what the heck any of that was.
We know Daddy Trump was a friend.
Yeah, he allegedly was like, I didn't realize what was going on. You know, we were great friends, great business partners, but I stopped hanging out with him after I found out. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, okay, buddy.
I mean, Trump was friends with Hillary before he ran as a...
he funded her campaign back in the day.
So
you know?
it's like, it's all kind of tied together. Oh, it's like the weird... It's not necessarily a conspiracy, but it's a interesting coinky-dink that all the presidents of America are all descendants of this one dude who was like linked back to unrightfully having the throne taken from him in England.
Really?
And like a bunch of other crud.
I think you were telling me about this.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Another interesting fact. Donald Trump is the only president ever to not have any family that owns slaves.
Interesting.
So he's the only one that none of his family members or anything own slaves. Every other single president, including Obama, their family at some point owned slaves.
That just makes him a saint, doesn't it? Doesn't it make you just want to like...
Now you're really digging us a hole here, man.
I'm just playing. Yeah, look, if you know me, you know my feelings on Donald J. Trump. And they're not that positive, so it's cool. It's all good. I love all people.
One could say January 6th was a conspiracy.
Yeah. I'm not trying to get arrested, so I don't know. Government can do all kinds of things, so you know, it is what it is.
Let's just say
it happened.
Allegedly, there may or may not have been people who were planning on storming the Capitol, but through the alleged coaching and alleged help of the FBI, they may have allegedly had agent provocateurs that may or may not have encouraged and let people in to cause more of a ruckus.
Oh, yeah. I mean, of course, man. Look, if you trust the
government...
Did
that make sense?
If you trust the government with anything, you're dumb. So...
Hey, Beanie. Beans, do you trust the government?
And you're probably not listening to this podcast if you do. Because,
Ow!
A cat.
Bean cameo.
I love it. Yeah, I've heard a little bit about that 1/6 conspiracy. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot when it comes to government cover-ups. What's not a conspiracy? The MK Ultra thing, CIA, giving people LSD just to see what would happen, trying to mind control them, and
in the like most vulnerable way possible.
Right.
Because so MK Ultra, they would basically they hired working ladies to drug their clients, and then the CIA would sit behind a one-way mirror and just watch them trip, and they were like drugged without their consent or anything.
Right. Oh,
and then actually MK Ultra is also where Charles Manson was involved with that, and that's why Charles Manson, they believe, got out of the jail so much was because the CIA was using him to introduce LSD into the hippie communities to like kind of mess with them and figure out what would happen.
That's interesting. Yeah, interesting. Believe it, man. I don't trust nobody. Look.
You trust me, Matt?
Yeah, man. I wouldn't be under a blanket with you if I didn't. You know?
All right, let's do an ad.
Boom.
Oh, my fingy.
Well, today's episode is brought to you by Oak Nut Workshop. Oak Nut Workshop is a craftsman owned company by this craftsman right here. Stone, Mickey, Ficky, Kiker.
Mickey Ficky.
He can do anything you want. Leatherwork, woodworking, metalwork. He just made a dope sword that's like 20 stories tall.
Yeah, just about.
It's huge.
That would make it bigger than the biggest cross in Texas.
It's bigger than that cross. Look, he can do anything. Custom. Whatever you're thinking of right now in your head, because I know you're thinking of something, he can do it. So you can find out more on all the socials at Oak Nut Workshop and at his website, oaknutworkshop.com. Don't waste time on your dream. Call Stone today.
I'll make it a reality. But while I am brainstorming and trying to focus my creative energies, I need fuel for that. And that fuel is Grateful Coffee. Grateful Coffee is probably some of the best dirty beans in the entire coffee business. Better than top of the morning coffee. Get wrecked, Jacksepticeye.
Get out of here.
And it's a really great coffee company because they don't just pocket all the monies.
That would be nice.
A lot of it would be nice if
But
they
we don't.
did. They don't. All that money goes right back out to the people to help those in need in Guatemala, with various charities in Guatemala. And it's just really, it's just, I've been working on it. Really great, company and brand. So if you want to learn more about that, you can go to grateful.coffee, or you can look them up on social media at Grateful Coffee.
That's it.
Check it out.
What
Ew.
I do with my face there? My voice.
It's like Harry and the Hendersons.
Yeah,
You know,
I am Bigfoot.
when they filmed that, it took them a while to stop the cameras from rolling, and so that's why a lot of the scenes it zoomed in on his face and he made like a goofy face, was because they told the puppeteers just to like whack out the controls, and that's how they ended their scenes every time, and that's why a lot of them were left in there.
Interesting. Wow. Well, Bigfoot's a conspiracy.
Is it?
I think it's real life, but
I mean, Gigantopithecus.
oh yeah, absolutely.
But
I think
have you
I
seen
think
the man-eating ape footage that they think is like some kind of Bigfoot relative?
No.
And apparently it was like this chick and her boyfriend like were out in the Amazon or whatever, and they found her camera, and it's like this. I'm getting chills thinking about it. It's very scary.
Did you watch the video?
Yeah, it's like, oh, the chills.
Really?
It's so terrifying. Like the first recordings, because they were trying to like find this thing because it was like a myth in the area they were at or whatever, and so they thought it was just like a dude like hanging out in a tree, and so they were kind of sitting there watching it.
In the Amazon.
But then I think it was in the Amazon. But then they saw it like start to swing around and jump from tree to tree, and for its size, they've never seen anything do something like that.
Georgia the Jungle could do it.
Yeah, and apparently they got too close, and there's like footage of it kind of like staring at them and then like walking towards them, and then that was like the last bit of footage.
That's terrifying. So it ate them both.
I guess so. Let me see if I can find that. But
That's
you
terrifying.
talk about the
yeah.
Bigfoot.
No, yeah. I mean, I've never seen Bigfoot, but I'm definitely fascinated by the concept. And I've heard a few different schools of thought on it. Like obviously, like an ancient primate that somehow survived and is like Gigantopithecus. I've heard that. You have like the Yeti, Sasquatch. It goes by different names. But one that is like becoming increasingly popular is the idea that Sasquatch, Bigfoot, is an interdimensional creature, which is why no one can really like get close enough or to get footage of him. Is like he's just there and then he's gone, and so like he's here, but he's not here, and so it's kind of I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm definitely Bigfoot. If you're out there and you're friendly, I'd be down to say hey, but I'm not trying to get my face ripped off because I don't care that much, honestly. But yeah, it's interesting. Right outside of Boone, the city of Marion has like a National Bigfoot Day every year. The mayor comes out and like they do like this big celebration, like honoring Bigfoot. Like it's in a lot of cultures like around the world, and so I'm not saying he's not out there. I'm tired of watching the really cheesy shows where they like are looking for him the whole time, but
Yeah. They're still catching Bigfoot.
But I think it's David Pilatus with the missing 411 tapes. Pretty interesting. He has a lot of thoughts on how Bigfoot correlates directly to the amount of missing persons in national parks around the country. And so he kind of like,
There's also cave correlation to that, though. Like, if you look at the map of where everybody's missing and then overlay all the cave systems that we know of, it's very scary to think about because it's, like, mostly where all the caves are.
so
Which could make sense with the Bigfoot thing.
which could make sense with the Hollow Earth theory. That the group of people that lives in the earth that's hollow
the
lives in all the
mole
caves.
people.
The mole people, they took them. But yeah, so he kind of correlates that like how many people have gone missing, and ties it into Bigfoot pretty nicely, neatly. But like yeah, there's some creepy stuff out there, man. Like a lot of the Bigfoot sightings are near, and a lot of the places that people have gone missing. Um, like they've found staircases in the middle of the woods that lead to nowhere. You know, like just staircases and then nothing. It's like creepy, bro.
Interesting.
So I don't know. I'm definitely. It's cool to think about. I mean, we talked about that a little bit on the cryptids episode, but I don't know enough about Bigfoot. You know, I'm not like a freak about it, but I definitely buy into it. Is that the
I was
guy?
looking through my Blanky Time collection on TikTok because I thought I saved it, but there's a lot of videos removed on my collection. I should have like saved it because it's kind of hard to find what I'm describing because I don't remember the exact names of it. But
yeah.
anyways,
Dang.
it was
Alright.
it was scary.
Well,
It was
don't
very
go to
scary.
the Amazon looking for man-eating Sasquatches.
Yeah,
Unless
I
you
mean,
wanna get
there's
your
the
face
like
ripped off.
the lion eating apes. They like eat lions.
Nope.
Freaking scary.
Not me. Mm-mm.
Oh,
What else you got, man?
well,
Let's hear a conspiracy.
this is a big one that's been talked about for a long time, and it's chemtrails. You know about chemtrails?
Enlighten me. I've heard about this a little bit, but I wanna hear your thoughts.
So there's a lot of theories about what chemtrails are. People who say they have a way of explaining away what a chemtrail is, I think it's kind of inconclusive because they're like it's just the condensation of like the air coming through the jets and as they fly through it creates this sort of trail of mist because it's this condensation or whatever that's like
Right.
somehow through the jet engine it creates that. However, that is a true thing that happens, but typically it dissipates fairly quickly after the plane has like gone through like a certain speed or like a higher moisture area. Chemtrails stick around for hours after
Yeah.
the plane has flown by. And like I've noticed the difference between just like the little condensation streaks and what I would say is a chemtrail because they do just stick around and they like
Right.
slowly get wider and wider and wider. But there will be days you'll look up in the sky and it looks like a bunch of hash marks of where planes have just flown over in different patterns and allegedly chemtrailed the sky. The like super crazy Q type people will say it's like chemicals that they're spraying in the atmosphere that make you more susceptible to the government or whatever. So that way, like, since it's saturating the atmosphere, you're gonna breathe it in all the time, and then you're gonna be like, "I love Joe Biden." I don't think.
Interesting.
I don't think that's real. I think it's chemtrails is a more practical thing that I don't know why they would keep it a secret, other than the fact that it is kind of strange the reason we do it.
Yeah.
But what I think chemtrails are is actually a type of weather control.
Ooh.
Or like more like weather pruning, right?
Okay.
Because I mean, weather control technology has been around since I don't know, since airplanes
Cloudy and with a chance
could
of
fly
meatballs.
basically for a while. Like I forgot which Olympics it was. I think it was either in China or Japan. And before the Olympics started, they started out saying, "We promise that there will be no rain the entire time of the Olympics." And then after it gone on a while, they were like, "We're pretty sure it won't rain." Because basically right before the Olympics, they stopped chemtrailing their areas, and it was the driest it had ever been that entire season. Because, you know, they allegedly stopped chemtrailing the atmosphere or whatever. I don't know if it's Photoshop, but there's allegedly like pictures of pilots like wearing masks, and then like it looks like a normal passenger plane, except it's got like big tanks of crud in there that they're, you know, supposedly dumping out this weather controlling chemical.
So it's a weather controlling chemical.
Yeah, I mean, if you noticed it, it's pretty consistent that the day they are allegedly chemtrailing, 4 to 5 days after that, it will rain, like, consistently.
Okay. I've
Now,
never kept track of it.
yeah, I don't know if it is a technology we actually have, why it would be a secret. Maybe there's something in the weather controlling technology that is bad for you. But the like super
There's
like,
stuff in your deodorant that's bad for you, dude.
yeah, the super
using that.
conspiracy side of it is like they're putting chemicals in the air that's gonna make me more susceptible to the government. And
Okay, Alex Jones, slow down.
blah, blah.
Slow down.
They're putting chemicals in the air.
Yeah. Really. Yeah, I mean, I believe it. Dude, like I said, I don't trust nobody. I sure as heck don't trust the government. So,
Yeah, just let us know if you're actually playing around with the air. I mean,
yeah, bro. I mean,
listen, we have Neptune missiles, okay? Do you know what the Neptune missile is?
does it involve the planet Neptune?
No, it involves the water god.
Does it involve the water god?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
That was my next guess.
the Neptune missile is terrifying because it just hangs out on like a submarine, you know, floating around.
Mhm.
If this thing detonates, it has the power to create a tsunami. It'd wipe out like an entire area of coast.
Yeah.
Like we have that capability.
Yeah.
So if we have, also there's some conspiracies about like, talking about like weather control conspiracies, like a machine out somewhere in the ocean that is able to create hurricanes. Which,
Tracks.
when you think about how a hurricane works, it would be somewhat easy to do. You just need a large scale system to do it, because all you just need is, you know, hot water and cold air, and you just wait for this temperature to be right, and then you turn this bad boy on and give it a little spin and heat it up, and you got
man.
yourself a tropical storm hurling in whatever direction it ends up going, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, it can take care of itself after that, you know. Yeah, I mean, I get that. I definitely think like we do crap like that for sure. I mean, I was listening to a podcast recently, and they were talking. They had he was like the head firefighter in Antarctica. Did you hear about this?
Oh, about the secret like
Yeah, like the laser that
system out there.
started the earthquake, like this like huge earthquake.
Oh, the one they accidentally shot Russia with.
Was it
Or
Russia?
no, that
I
was
don't think it
Nikola
was
Tesla.
Russia. No, it wasn't Russia.
Tesla
recent.
when they Tesla
Tesla was
when
a
they
long
were
time
doing
ago.
the first Tesla coil
Mhm.
thing, it was recorded, but then they buried it, and then it came out again that when they were firing that thing up, there was this like massive beam of light that shot from it, and they're like, oh crap, what the heck was that? Shut it down. And apparently the same exact day in Russia there was reportings of like this place getting like nuked by this beam of light that like blew a bunch of crap up, and it was
Snap.
allegedly from Tesla's
There's a lot of
thingamabob.
conspiracies around Tesla, for sure. But
Yeah.
no, this guy, he was the head firefighter at some base in Antarctica. He had keys to every facility in the space, but claims that he was in the room when they misfired this laser and started an earthquake. I want to say it was in New Zealand, maybe?
Yes.
Was it New Zealand?
Yeah.
So in New Zealand, and just like crazy that like they're doing stuff like that all the time. They were aiming for somewhere else, and but like it's just crazy to think that technology's out there. I mean, there's so much we don't understand about the way reality actually works, and there's conspiracies about a dark government. Which kind of runs everything behind the scenes.
World order,
like
the
a-
new world
yeah,
order
something like
that people are slipping up and accidentally saying,
Right. Maybe.
which is a little unnerving.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, don't trust anybody. Hide your kids. Hide your wife.
Yeah, and also like with like new AI stuff and deep fakes and whatnot, like
You can't
you
believe
can't
your
trust
eyes
any
anymore.
crud.
No.
Okay, especially with election season coming
Oh,
up soon.
gosh.
There's gonna be so much stuff out there. You just need
Well,
to.
now that AI is as prevalent,
Yeah.
yeah, dude, you're gonna see some crazy stuff. That'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Well, you want to know something that I think's crazy?
Let's
That
hear
jet fuel can melt metal beams.
just by itself.
Yeah, I think that's pretty crazy.
That's crazy.
Do I need to expound more?
Expound it more. I mean, it's crazy.
So with this being the month of September, which is the
Oh.
ninth month
Yeah, I'm sorry. I missed the cue.
of the year, there is a event that happened in this month, and there's a lot of conspiracies surrounding it.
9/11, buddy.
I
Let's
wasn't
just
gonna.
put it out there. Let's
Okay.
just put it out there.
9/11 happened.
what we're
It
talking
was
about.
a tragedy. The
It was
fact
terrible.
that
There was
people were either forced to burn alive or
Jump.
It was a very sad and unfortunate thing to happen.
I remember the day. I remember waking up, seeing the second plane hit. We were watching the news when it happened.
Do you remember it?
Yeah, dude, I was
Dang,
11.
You're so old, dude.
Yeah, I was 11 years old.
I was 1.
I was 11, and we had just turned on the TV. And yeah, second plane hit. It was terrible, man. Terrible to watch. Like that whole day, I just remember being so surreal. Like, and then like everything happened with the Pentagon, and then with the plane that crashed in Pennsylvania in the field, which
I know the wife of that guy. I
know,
met her before.
really.
Hmm.
But that whole story is kind of unconfirmed. At
Well, a
least as
plane
far as,
didn't
like-
hit the Pentagon.
Well, no, I know that.
That's for a
That's
fact.
yeah, no, for sure.
It was more than likely a missile ballistic of some kind.
Yeah, I
Guaranteed.
had
Allegedly guaranteed.
allegedly guaranteed. Yeah, I had heard that about the Pentagon just based on like the way everything went the way it did. But
Because I
with
know
the-
somebody who was driving in front of the Pentagon when the plane allegedly hit the Pentagon, and he said there was no plane. He saw a object streak by and hit the Taco Bell right in the Pentagon.
Dang, that's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. So there's a lot of like obvious tragedy. Bad things happen. People died. Heroes. The police force, firefighters, first responders, like all that. You know. So wherever you fall on the realm of conspiracy, the fact is like a lot of great people died. It's terrible, terrible event in our nation's history. You know, it kind of
And all it did was just fuel a pointless war that didn't really accomplish anything.
it accomplished nothing. Which I mean, it's been proven that there were no, WMDs that
Yeah.
were ever recovered. So yeah, wherever you fall on that spectrum politically,
Yeah.
um,
The conspiracy that it ended up fueling the military industrial complex to keep funding itself, is pretty fleshed out. Who
Pretty well
started
fo-
who
yeah.
started what, who told who to do what, who convinced who to say what and do specific acts of terror, that I still think remains to be seen, because
Right.
that is a very intricate thing that isn't black and white, in
right,
my opinion.
right,
The thing I was talking about, jet fuel and melting metal,
collapsing towers
the way the towers fell
and Tower 7.
does not line up with how typically buildings are destroyed when hit by airplanes. There's been multiple accounts back in the day of airplanes hitting skyscrapers
Mm-hmm.
and them being just fine. One of those being the Empire State Building. The Empire State Building's been hit like 2 or 3 times
Yeah,
by airplanes, but it's still standing, and the Twin Towers were designed to the same spec or better than the Empire
Right.
State Building. So that's kind of sketchy, because at least the way it looks to me is it looks like some kind of controlled demolition of a tall structure. Because if you've ever watched a controlled demolition of a tall
Yeah,
structure,
man, it just stacks
it
down.
collapses right on top of itself.
Yeah,
If anything, if it was to fall, I would at least assume, based off of like just visual physics, that one of the halves would have like cracked off the top and like caused probably even more damage than what was caused.
yeah,
But I mean, there was concrete and metal burning for weeks
yeah,
after it fell, and at least when it comes to like the tests and stuff done with jet fuel, that's not possible. And they said jet fuel was the cause of it, but jet fuel is basically like a more refined version of diesel fuel, and that takes a lot of effort and heat to combust, but it doesn't have the ability to melt metal, especially in that environment. So I don't know who maybe planted things to cause it to collapse a certain way,
yeah,
or any of that stuff. I'm just saying the way it's explained to how it fell does not make sense in any way when you look at, how it collapsed, and the fact that there was things still burning weeks and
yeah.
weeks after.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely more to the story than we know as the public. That's obvious. But what actually happened, I mean, we might not ever know.
Could be like another JFK situation.
Right, it could. It was terrible. A lot of people died, man. Terrible loss, but it's not to say that it wasn't some sort of like you know.
I mean, there's the whole thing about all that money going missing from like those banks and stuff at the same exact time, and nobody knew about it for a long time until way after the fact. And then they're like, "Oh well, it's so far in the past, we can't do anything about it now."
Hmm.
But because of the way, like, if that money and all that crud went missing and like disappeared, I don't fully know what this is. I was just hearing about it recently, but apparently, like, the banks lost a ton of money. Like, it should have caused a massive recession and basically another Great Depression 2.0. And some people say that this event was caused to cover that up, so that way the recession and the Great Depression 2.0 wouldn't happen.
Interesting. Yeah.
I don't know about that, but I do know jet fuel doesn't melt
Yeah.
metal beams.
Yeah.
So
Who knows, man? Yeah. No, that's a big one. That's actually one that I have done a fair bit of research on and just tried to like hear different sides of the story and what different thoughts were. But I mean, again, I could go either way on it. Whatever happened, it was terrible, and
Yeah.
it was definitely coordinated. Whoever's actually responsible, we might not ever know. But
they were evil.
the way things ended up happening don't necessarily sound consistent with the explanation that was given, which I'm sure, like, we all do that. I'm not gonna tell my kids something that might be traumatic, or I might reframe it. So I think maybe we just got it reframed for us. But that, whether it was malicious or not, who knows?
Conspiracy of silence.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Same
they were
thing.
potentially silent about the bank thing, and
Right.
there's something louder going on.
Exactly.
I heard the story of this dude who he worked at like a zoo or something, and he was a snake handler, and he worked in like the most venomous section of the snakes and whatnot, and it was like in New York, and he ended up getting bit by like a rattlesnake or something super venomous,
Oh, crazy.
and
Wow.
it was during 9/11, so there was like no ambulances. He ended up surviving somehow, but it was just like even more
Yo,
scary because
that's
there was no
terrible.
help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang. All right. No thanks. No thanks.
Conspiracies are fun. There's all sorts of conspiracies. You got breakfast conspiracies. You got government conspiracies.
You're all about the breakfast conspiracy.
You got you got terrorism conspiracies. You got
vegetable oil
listen,
conspiracy.
yeah, food conspiracies. The founding of America is a conspiracy. There was a bunch of dudes who conspired together to overthrow their government and created the good US of A, baby.
That's
so
right.
if you think conspiracy theories aren't real and your brain shuts down right when you hear that word because that's like a statistic,
I've heard that.
you're living in a country founded on the principles of Judeo-Christian values and conspiracies.
A little bit of free Masonic thought.
Well, the Freemason stuff, like, back then was a lot different than it is now.
Was it?
Yeah.
How do we know?
Because of the progression of the rule books that added up. It's sort of like it's like a game. Like, so say you and me as kids created a simple game called like Stick Whack, right? Where you have a stick in the woods and you whack a tree until the stick breaks to where you can't hold it anymore, and then you got to get another stick. And the older we got, the more rules we added to make it more complex and more fun. And then at some point, the devil got involved and made it very whack.
As you do.
That's basically what kind of happened to the Freemasonry.
Interesting.
At least from what I understand.
Are you just saying that because you're a Freemason?
No.
Cool.
I'm not.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird stuff with that, and like even like the Shriners, and the like Shriner's hat is red because the original Shriner's hat was white, and they were like Muslim based and they killed a bunch of Christians and soaked their hats in the blood, and then that's why they wear red hats now.
This is very interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah,
It's a little creepy.
a little dark history.
That's what you get here on Blanky Time.
The dark history of the darkness.
The dark.
Are you afraid of the dark?
Afraid of the dark. I was born in it.
All right. Well,
Alright.
what did you learn, Matt?
A whole lot of nothing, man.
A whole lot of nothing.
Conspiracies are fun to talk about. And, look, just stay open-minded because you don't have it figured out. And neither do I. And that's okay. What is life but a series of figuring things out and then realizing we figured wrong? So, stay open-minded, stay curious, and don't do drugs.
Yeah, but one thing you do need to do, it's basically mandatory.
Yeah.
You cannot skimp.
And it can be
on this.
addictive.
It potentially is some good old fashioned blanky time. Blanky time
Blanky time.
is good for the soul. It's good for the mind. It's good for the body. So let's drink some wine. Let's have some blanky time. Let's have some blanky time.
Yeah. Get yourself
Get yourself some
Get
blanky
yourself
time.
some blanky time.
Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.